John Emmett's the first one on tonight. It's tonight where he is. It's this afternoon here in San Francisco. Christopher Gillingham, likewise in Leamington in the UK, saying fair winds and following seas, ahoy. Julia, to both of us. There's Restream.io saying, I don't know who that is on YouTube. But welcome nonetheless to all of you. Ed Worley checking in. Ted Ryman from Cape Town in the Republic of South Africa. Emmett's in Weymouth. Tier DeYong down in SoCal. Greg Phillips from a cold and wet morning on the Gold Coast in the northeast of Oz of Australia. Joe Holtzman he's up on a bit of a holiday break. He's in the headwaters of the Colorado River, Grand Lake, or so he tells me. Put a Studio B in here for a shot for a sec. Jay Rendell, White Bear Lake in Minnesota. Alistair Murray, where it's early in the morning in Melbourne, 0600, as it is for Greg Phillips as well. Welcome, everybody, to our show number 534. Let's get this one off the dock.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You see that, well, it's a lot of people. Look at all the people signing on here. But Pedro Foiling Sailor has checked in. He's got the crud. He's got COVID, and he said he's got a bit of a case. He's in Sydney or near Sydney. As usual, he says, morning, Tom. Woke up this morning. It's another good day. That's kind of the way we feel, isn't it, Julia? If you wake up, you're happy to be alive.
It's a good start.
At our age, David James is on. One has to appreciate the Formula One safety measures. That crash would have been multiple fatalities. Thank you, in the 70s. Yeah, and that thank God for the halo. By the way, I had a video that Bill Cook sent me from Annapolis just before we went to air, and I tried to get permission to run it, and they said $200 and you could have the video. But I'll put it on my Facebook page of that crash in the opening stages of
I missed that.
Oh God, the British Grand Prix over the weekend. Who else is on here? Andrew Pindar saying bonsoir from Chamonix, where the mer de glace, sea of ice. What's glace mean, Julie, in French? Glace
Ice
is every bit as much a threat as its fluid child. Stingray was not on first, but welcome, John Lamberts Van Bureau, saying hello from the low country, from the Netherlands. Emmett's, look at this. He's saying he's pretty sure he had COVID this weekend, but it's gone today, hopefully.
Oh, good.
Fritz Mueller down in Miami. Yeah, Pindar checking in. Peter Taylor in New York City. I hope everybody had a great 4th of July if you were celebrating that over the weekend. Yeah, David James, it was a tremendous race, and it was indeed. And I'll put, as I say, I'll put the video of that crash, and it's a camera that's right on that first corner, and the cars are coming, including the one that not only turned upside down, we all saw that picture with the car upside down on its helmet, but thank goodness for the halo. But also then the car rolled in and it did a couple more flips as it rolled into the barrier at the end of the corner. Welcome, everybody. Show number 534 for Tuesday, the 5th of July. Julia, of course, is here. The Commodore of the Beach Street Yacht Club, my co-host, dear friend.
I'm taking travel lessons from Andrew Pindar.
Well, there's a few people here who get around.
Oh, yes.
Mystery men of the world. Gordon Smith's in Denmark. We have a couple of good stories from Denmark tonight. Big avalanche. What's the big avalanche tragedy? Is that something that's happened in the last hour or so since I've had my head down and up, getting ready for the show? Julie, have you seen something about an avalanche?
Yesterday.
Avalanche tragedy. I hadn't seen that. Well, welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Tom Eamon, as you all know. Leave, if you're new here, and we see people coming on that don't leave a comment, but if you just leave a quick comment, we'll see your name and like to welcome you. Or not, if you don't feel like it.
Yeah, but it's always interesting to know.
What's the sad story from Denmark, Emmett is saying? Oh, that's the
Dad
mall.
story.
That's the mall shooting. Yeah, we saw that.
Yeah.
Julia, I pinged Gordon over the weekend, Gordon Smith, to say, hey, I hope you and your family are safe. You weren't anywhere near that mall where that shooting took place. Hey,
right.
Bloody hell. You worry about what's going on here, this thing in Illinois and so on. But we're here to talk about our wonderful sport, our beautiful sport of sailing, of yacht racing, let's get into it. Into the pre-start, our Castle Cove Sailing Club shot, courtesy of John Emmett. We like to run for the pre-start. And, of course, we had our 4th of July, our big Independence Day celebration over the weekend. It was a 3 or 4 day holiday for many people. That's what it sometimes looks like in San Francisco, but not last night. Have a listen of this.
Yes.
Well, it isn't too often that you see this many people leaving before the grand finale went off at a fireworks show, but that was the case here along the waterfront in San Francisco because the fog made things a little difficult. If you love the sound of fireworks, this was the show for you. The visuals, forget it.
Yeah, the fog is terrible tonight, or at least the clouds anyway.
The hundreds of people who gathered along Pier 39 in San Francisco for what was dubbed as the big fireworks show got a little less than they bargained for.
I'm disappointed though. I expected to see more, you know, at least in a better spot, I thought, for sure. So
TV was
sounds good, right? Maybe next year, I know.
The fog stole the show, much to the dismay of the Gonzalez family, who drove 6 hours from Los Angeles.
I'm kind of disappointed. I didn't know that it was going to be kind of windy and cold, so I thought it was going to be sunny like LA, but I'm okay.
Despite a few shouts of, "I want my money back," plenty of people were in a celebratory mood, even if they left early to beat traffic.
I factored in the weather and the wind direction and saw the smoke and the fog headed directly for me. And thusly, I said to myself, hey, we got to get on we got to get on a bus. Maybe we should go.
It was fun though.
For the savvy city dweller, the fog is like an old friend, even if they overstay their welcome at your party.
That's San Francisco, right?
Sarah Donchie, KPIX.
You were saying on TV.
Yeah, it was a great show on TV.
Well, that's because they were showing San Jose down to the
Oh,
south, and they
yeah.
were showing the fireworks up in the North Bay.
Right.
They were showing everywhere except here in
I
San
know.
Francisco because this is what it looked like.
Oh, they did show this, too.
Well, they did, but it was croutonic. And, of course, these people wanting their money back, these fireworks are free. The businesses and the city pay
Right.
for it. But nonetheless, that's what it looked like here last night. But it was a beautiful weekend in other parts of the country. If you were celebrating it, do you know where that is, Julia?
Oh, no.
That is, I'm pretty sure that's in Nantucket, right? Fireworks in Sausalito were pretty good, David James is saying. So these are photos sent by Fozy. I really appreciate them. This is the beautiful yacht Manitou. the
Oh, that's a
historic
great
yacht.
photo, too.
Yeah, it is, in Newport, Rhode Island. This was sent out apropos our Independence Day by American Magic, sent out to a lot of the friends. And then this popped up on my Facebook feed from 95, and it's red, white, and blue. I put it up. And the reason is because this guy here, well, you know who that is.
Yep, Coyote.
That's Kayard. This is Billy Trankel, who's been one of Dennis's key operatives all along, and it is his birthday on the 4th or 5th. I guess it's the 4th. And there's some crouton next to him who's with that team, and I don't know if that's Jack Sutphin, the late great Jack Sutphin down in the corner. The point is, we always celebrate Bill Trankel's birthday, and this is a nice red, white, and blue thing. This is, do you recognize who these two guys are?
No.
Well, the feet up.
Yes.
With the Red Sox.
Yes.
Is
Oh,
the
Red
late
Sox.
great, late great
From
New Zealand.
From New Zealand, yeah.
You see who's next to him in the water?
No. I can't make it up.
That's Coots.
Oh.
And this is right after the win.
Yeah.
They won. They came over to the dock at San Diego Yacht Club, and it's Sir Peter Blake, of course, in the Red Sox, who and we're laughing at it. It's on the 13th of May, 1995. How time flies. Almost 30 years ago, 95, 05, 50, yeah, almost 30 years ago.
Wow.
They came over to the dock. They came on our boat. We had a nice hug and some beer and so on. And then Coot, or Kayard, as you saw in that, he pushed them into the water there. And everybody was up there on the front dock and the front deck at San Diego Yacht Club. It was a great occasion. Of course, what was not such a great occasion for us, although terrific for New Zealand, is that they won in 5 straight. Look at the deltas. 245, 414, 151, 337, 150. Black Magic over Young America. A real drubbing, as often is the case in the finals of the America's Cup. And bravo Zulu to them, because it was only the second time that a non-American country
Well,
team won. I mean, first time was 92. Sorry, it was 83. And then the second time after it went down under, came back, and then the Kiwis came up for finally their first win after trying for several times by then. And of course, that boat that won it is Black Magic. NZL 32 was the first of their 2 boats, and it's on display in Auckland. And that was arguably the best America's Cup team that was ever put together. Dennis Conner might argue with a few of those and some others, but Brad Butterworth, Tom Schnackenberg, of course, Murray Jones, Rick Dodson, Dean Phipps, Joey Allen, Matthew Mason, Jeremy Scantlebury, Craig Monk, Andrew Taylor, and Simon Robbie Warwick, Peter Blake, and Ross Halcrow were sail trimmers on and off on that boat. Bravo salute to them. It was an amazing performance, sadly for us, Team Dennis Conner, but a great job by Team New Zealand on Black Magic, 1995. Over the weekend, a tragic accident. Our dear friend, Clark Chapin there on the left, Fozy helps us a lot with his show, is to his, the right in the photo, to his left is his wife, Karen Chapin. And they had, Julia, we talked about it. I've talked to Clark at some length. They were leaving Portage Yacht Club. That shot is at our home club in Michigan, Portage Yacht Club, where we have a big fireworks display on the Saturday night. It's happened Saturday night, on the Saturday night of 4th of July weekend. And they were driving home to their home about 30 minutes to the east of Portage Lake back toward Detroit. And an oncoming car crossed the lane, the Crouton, smacked into the car ahead of Clark. Then I'm not telling anything out of school. It's on his Facebook page. Smacked then into Clark and Karen. In the back seat was Karen's mother there, almost 100 years old, maybe 100. And sadly, tragically, she was killed in the accident. Karen, there in the blue shirt, Clark's wife, is in hospital, and she's doing okay, or so I heard yesterday. I haven't talked to Clark today. But a tragic accident, and we wish, and a lot of you have. I saw thank you for the over 100 plus comments, Julia, on his Facebook page, and Clark Chapin. He got out of it with bumps and bruises and more, but Karen's in tough shape, and we wish them, Godspeed to a recovery, and a full recovery at that. And I'm really sorry to hear about her mother, who died in that accident.
It's really all-encompassing. If 3 of the people closest to you just disappear.
Well, in his brand new car, as Clark said to me, his 2022, whatever it was, Equus, what is that? Chevrolet, Chevy Clark used to work for GM, so he drives that. And it's a small SUV, I think, and he said, had we been in a car from, 5, 10, 15 years ago, we'd all be dead. But the cars are so much better built today. Really, that was 100%. It was a complete loss of his car. But okay, David James has got Jeffrey Will. Yeah, it was a great AC series. 95. What Ed Worley saying is great, and it was a great series. NZL was kind of used to win with Doug Peterson figuring out the rule better than anyone else. What rocket ship? Yeah, it was a rocket ship, John Lammerts Van Buren. Thoughts are with you, Clark. Dang, yeah, it was a horrible situation, but it was not his fault. The sheriff told Clark afterwards that apparently the driver coming at them was impaired. That driver survived, and he's in the hospital, or was as well. Yeah, Julie Aaron's saying sorry about the flooding in Sydney. By the way, I sent the note down to not Gordon Smith, to Peter Stevenson. I also talked to Gordon Smith, but I said to, what's going on with this flooding? We were seeing all those reports, and he said it's really bad, and it continues to be bad. Tens of thousands of people apparently had to leave their homes because of the flooding.
I made several attempts to contact people, but they weren't contactable at the moment.
Yeah, Julie, thank you for and all the others that left notes on this wonderful community we have of sailors, a lot of whom have never met each other, but they know each other from their comments and being on the show as Fozies with and for us. Thank you very much. Julie, do you know what day today is? And this is in your honor.
Oh, yeah?
The 5th of July, yes. Recognize that's your one and only clue.
It's my mother's wedding anniversary.
I know, but what's that flag? That's the Hawaiian flag. Today is Hawaii Day, and nobody's quite sure why, because it's not the day they became a state. But on Hawaii Day, National Hawaii Day is observed annually from July 5th to celebrate becoming the 50th state of the U.S. However, statehood was officially granted in August of 59. It's not known why the holiday is held on. I know why it's held on July 5th.
That's after the 4th.
Because after the 4th, and you're going to extend the party and have a longer party, right? Why not?
Yeah.
It holds the distinction of being one of the 4 states that were once independent nations, along with California, Texas, and I did not know about Vermont, an independent country, independent nation. But we celebrate it. It's a cool state. It's one of the best yachting venues in this country, especially for big boats. And we have some quick facts, some fun facts about the state of Hawaii on Hawaii Day. Have a look.
Oh, good.
Hawaii is a series of islands stretching more than 1,500 miles. For centuries, each island had its own government ruled by a local chief. Then, in 1810, with little resistance, one king established himself as ruler of all the islands, King Kamehameha.
He was the one who united all of the Hawaiian Islands. Without written language, without a common language, he was actually able to combine all those islands into one territory.
Years earlier, Kamehameha had befriended British explorers under the command of Captain Cook. That friendship had an important influence on the design of the Hawaiian flag. Kamehameha incorporated the British flag in the upper left-hand corner, or canton, of the Hawaiian flag. He also included 8 red, white, and blue stripes. They represent Hawaii's 8 major islands. In 1894, Americans with powerful interests in Hawaii's sugar and pineapple industries overturned the monarchy. They declared Hawaii a republic. Following the attacks on Pearl Harbor in 1941, public sentiment among Hawaiians grew in favor of statehood. In 1959, Hawaii became our 50th state, but its flag has never changed. Today, Hawaii remains the only state to feature a British flag from times gone by. For Flag Facts, I'm Kristen.
And now you know.
I know.
I knew the Union Jack because of Cook, Captain Cook, and so on. I'd heard that before, but I didn't know the stripes on the Hawaiian flag were after the.
I didn't either.
What is it? Eight major islands.
Yeah.
David James probably knew that.
He probably did.
He knows everything. Well, I thought that was a nice little vignette about today, Hawaii Day. A lot of you have been through Hawaii, have sailed in Hawaii, have swum, surfed in Hawaii. Pedro, foiling sailor, saying, yeah, Joe Cool knew it was Hawaii Day, as did Gordon Smith. Clayton Allen Embley, wasn't Young America a backup boat? Well, it was a backup boat to the extent that we on Team Dennis Conner, we knew our boat was not as fast as probably the other 2 boats, and Dennis, through guile and great sailing by the team, and some light air luck that we had. Both, probably Bill Koch's women's team and had the best boat, and arguably Young America's boat, the Mermaid, was faster as well. Bill Koch wouldn't give us his boat, but the boat, John Marshall needed more money, so we chartered his boat for almost $1 million, I think, to help him pay off his debts. And that was probably the biggest mistake we made in that campaign, because the truth is, by the time we got the boat fixed, the guys really never learned to sail it. Each of these boats is different, not only just the controls and the layout of the cockpit and so on, but when you go low, when you go high, and how you go low and high, and so on. So that was probably not a great idea to switch to that boat. But nonetheless, didn't make any difference, because Russell Coots and Sir Peter Blake and co. were going to beat us. They were far and away, as it turns out. And we knew it going in that they were pretty darn quick. PDQ. Pedro Foiling Sailor, Julia, you tried to contact me. You know I always pick up for you and be contactable. Peter McDonald asking you, Julia, if, the news we reported on Friday about UCLA and USC going to the Big 10, now the Big 16, is it the Big 18? Is Stanford going? Do you know? Do you have any insight into that?
I have no insight, and it's one of the current propositions.
One hears that Notre Dame and Stanford are going to the Big 10 as well. Jonathan Frank, yes, Captain Cook loved it so much he's still there. Yeah, he died there. I imagine he fancied the whole white shirt and tie look. Yeah. Okay. What's a
Niihau, a private.
Is that one of the other islands? Oh, Larry bought
Lanai.
The bearded pick looked like David Kalakaua instead of Kamehameha. How do we pronounce that?
She pronounced Kamehameha quite differently than it's usually pronounced, and I don't know why.
What does she know? she's some kids network. No, she was not. I liked the video.
Yeah.
And it's an old video. See, it's an old 6:9. It's 4:3. It's a letterbox video that they've made 6:9 by adding this back, or 16:9 by adding that background. One of the toughest waters. Why no more Kenwood Cup? Yeah, the Kenwood Cup, the Pan Am Cup, Clipper Cup before that. Many pro sailors couldn't handle the conditions, motion sickness and all, when the Japanese female crew, yeah. But what a great place to sail.
Isn't that the big race going on now?
Well, there's two races going on now. There's the Maui race, the
Yeah.
Victoria from Canada to Maui race, and then there's the Pacific Cup, which started
Pacific Cup,
here
yep.
yesterday,
Yep.
which is another offshore race going over to, I guess, goes to
It's North Shore of Oahu.
yeah, it goes over to Oahu as well. The sailing coach at the University of Hawaii, Jay Rendell, saying Andy Johnson is from White Bear Lake up in Minnesota. Well, a lot of great sailors are from White Bear Lake. And enough of Hawaii and that. But let's turn to another, since we're on things that our clan, our Fozy, like to follow besides Formula One. We've got another interesting development. It's an annual sport that stage 4 was today of the Tour de France.
Mm-hmm.
And it started in Denmark over the last 4 or 5 days. Today's race was, they transit after opening up in Denmark, and there were huge crowds watching stages 1 through 3 in Denmark. I saw pictures. They transit over here yesterday, and then today they race from Dunkirk to Calais.
Mm.
And it's obviously they get different countries involved, and they have a huge number of people from all over the world participating and watching, and it's a tremendous event. They continue. After doing those other, I'll go back. After doing those other stages, Lille and so on, down to, is it Longwy? How do you pronounce that in French? I don't know.
What?
Longwy.
Long.
W-Y. However, that's, and then they carry on, and they go down through the eastern part of France and into Suiza, right? Yeah, they're in Switzerland, part of it, and then back through and around, down and around, and back up finally to Paris for that final stage after the long transit on the 23rd of July, and the final race is up there in Paris, this long transit on the 24th. So we're watching that. Why? Well, because you've got Ineos Grenadier participating, among others. Now, this is the finish of today's race. This guy is having an amazing run. Do you know who that is?
Mm-mm.
Well, he's a Belgian rider who's, I think his finishes in the last major races have been 1-1, 2-2-1 or something. His name is Wout van Aert from Belgium. Wout van Aert. And the guy won today's race by heaps. He was way out front.
Amazing.
And you can see by 8 seconds, the rest of the whole rest of the gang, the fleet, what's the right word? Gaggle, whatever it was, were 8 seconds behind. And I would run a video, but again, I don't want to have rights problems with Tour de France. But this guy has had an amazing run. Now, you know who this is?
Ineos Grenadier.
Yeah, Peloton, I think is the right. This is the Ineos Grenadier, not tier, top finisher, Tom Pidcock. And he was only 22nd. The Peloton, I think, is the term for the pack.
Is it?
Yeah, the Fozy, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Fleet, Gaggle, Peloton. I didn't know if it was I thought it was, but you say it and then you get it wrong, and they say no, the Peloton is one of those cycling machines, right?
Bill Wingrove said
the Peloton is that machine you stand on and yeah, that's a big company. They sell those Peloton. You should have one up in your Commodore's suite, Julia.
Oh, sure.
Peloton. Good exercise.
Right after you.
The rest of the losers, Jonathan Frank is saying. Indeed. Well, this guy, Pidcock, who is, he's Brit and in sailing. He's riding for Ineos Grenadiers. Didn't have the greatest of races. But we'll be watching. We'll see how the Ineos Grenadiers do because, of course, the team is owned and funded by Sir James Ratcliffe, who's Formula One team's not having a great year either, nor is the cycling team after the spectacular win they had 2-3 years ago. So we'll watch Mr. Pidcock and the rest of his teammates. I might have changed my name if my last name was Tom Pidcock instead of Tom Eamon. I don't know, Julie. What do you think of that? You can wave your fingers if you want.
I have so many images. I don't think so.
Fritz Mueller saying Peloton platoon in French usually regroups for sprint final and points at the end. And Jody Shields is saying Tom Pidcock is the complete package in cycling. Yes, he's apparently very, very good, done very well in a lot of different disciplines in that sport. Now back to the winner. Do you know what he is doing as he came into the finish line 8 seconds ahead of the peloton?
Cooling off.
Well, it's a good guess. But no, that's not. Say that again. He's cool. You kind of flap your arms now, Julia. Flap your arms. Yeah. He's cooling off his armpits.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Eddie the Eagle. Yeah, that's John Emmett is saying. No, what he's doing, he's sponsored by Red Bull.
Oh.
And Red Bull gives you wings. That's their big claim. That's one of their big claims. And that's why he flaps his arms coming across the. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Notwithstanding that Red Bull doesn't actually give you wings according to Wikipedia, for over 20 years, the popular energy drink, sponsors among others Jimmy Spithill, used Red Bull gives you wings as its catchy slogan. But in 2014, Red Bull agreed to pay out more than $13 million US after settling a class action suit in this country, a lawsuit that accused the company of false advertising.
Oh, come on.
Red Bull, you think Red Bull doesn't give you wings? I mean, excuse me. Some lawyer files sues and says, well, we've been drinking Red Bull and we still have our arms, not wings. What a bunch of croutons.
Were they really serious about it, I wonder?
Yeah. I mean, that's their claim. And come on, nobody thinks that it really literally gives you wings. It was nice. Look at those guns, Fritz Mueller is saying. Should we go back and look at his guns? Well, I don't know. Those guys are pretty thin bodied up. I think you're being sarcastic. Okay, Red Bull gives you wings. Julia, what other comments here do we need to examine? I Singer is saying, I noticed that nobody ever drinks Red Bull in the Wanji pub. Vodka Red Bull, maybe. Depending upon what kind of a bar. David James saying those damn lawyers. He, of course, Julia,
is a lawyer.
He's your lawyer.
He is.
On top of all that. Okay, let's push on here. Ask Sangmeister how well those wings worked. Jonathan Frank. Well, it's because Sangmeister did that Red Bull. What do they call it at his restaurant? We've played it on here. Some of the video of that. And what do they call it? The Red Bull something or other, where they build strange contraptions and see who can fly off the end of a ski jump out over the water, and they all go basically straight down. Okay, let's get into the starting line for today's show. And as usual, we want to start with our dear friend and Fozy and Super Olympic coach John Emmett checking in, master mentor that he is, checking in from Weymouth.
Good morning, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. The reason I say good morning is because this is when it's recorded. So, welcome to my morning coffee. Hopefully, you'll be able to continue to play beard or no beard today, because I have carefully checked the hair and makeup today. So I think that probably my appearance is acceptable. And it made me think very much about the appearance of our sport. It's something I've never thought about very much. I mean, the first time I was in front of a camera doing these things, I think I was probably quite stiff and rigid. And it takes quite a lot of time and patience, to get used to doing these things. And media is it's an important part of sport and presenting sport. So yeah, I did check. So hopefully I'm presentable, and this image will be used. If you look at the early interviews I actually did it all from behind the camera, so you never actually saw me. It's just my voice. Most of those early ones were just on Facebook rather than YouTube. But the point is, we do need to think about our outward appearance. It's quite strange for a coach. One of the nice things about being a coach is you're behind the camera, and it's always the athlete they're interested in talking to, not you. But I think we need to think about how we present our sport to others. So that's to encourage people to join. You know, it's not, you know, classes versus classes. It's come sailing. We're all in this together. We're all sailors, and there's a boat out there for everybody. And, you know, sailing clubs need signs outside of them saying something along the lines of all members welcome, or new members welcome, or something like this to try and encourage people in. So there's no video from on the water today. I'm running running a bit late, and I haven't managed to put things together from this weekend. But hopefully I'll have that for you on Friday, and I might even be able to take you for a little walk around Weymouth. So have a fantastic show, and do think very hard about how we present our sport to others to keep it as inclusive as possible. And I've got to say it again, you know, back the bid. And to keep it as enticing as possible, to make people feel attracted to come and play with us. Final note, I haven't put the slide in, but we tend to get very sort of fatigued by things which happen at the COVID situation. It's still going on, you know, and it's very infectious at the moment. It's not particularly deadly compared to the situation we were in earlier, because so many people vaccinated, so many people in the sort of richer countries will have some sort of natural immunity, but it is still there, even though we don't hear about it. And perhaps the thing that's most on my mind is the war in Ukraine, and that suffering is still very much going on. And it'll be interesting to see if there's some sort of pushback after day 200. As we get into what is unfortunately going to be a very long conflict. So we're so lucky to be just mainly thinking and talking about sailing. So for all those people who are wondering about my appearance, I think you can have a good drink, and wishing everybody a really good show, and I will definitely see you later. Bye for now.
He does sound a little crook, doesn't he? And Jonathan and Barbara Frank have had it of late, just in the last week. And as we know, Peter Stevenson down under has got it. John's got it. It sounds like he had it. He says he had it over the weekend. Have you not had a test, John? I hope you are. John Emmett, with a look like that in the morning, you give us all hope. You've done a rat test. Thanks, John. Thanks, John. Very cool as always. Greetings from Sonoma. Don Lunabos is saying, yeah, we wish you a speedy recovery from whatever you've got, cold, or if it's gin and cigarettes, as somebody ciggies and gin. But John, who of course is a professional sailing coach, an Olympic coach extraordinaire, get to the front of the fleet with John Emmett Sailing. We appreciate his meaning twice a week, bi-weekly submissions. He submits to every show, just about. I don't think he's missed one in, a year, has he? It's been a long time he's been doing this, and I have to go back and look. We'll have to get Clark Chapin when he gets sorted out, go back and have a look for us. Appreciate it. Get well soon. Very well indeed. Now, we've been talking with John and others, Andrew Pindar and so on, about the hashtag back the bid. And I think we should flow right into that, because yesterday World Sailing made an announcement that they are in fact ready to submit their LA 28 Paralympic application. The time is now, and parasailing is thriving, they say in an article today, in an interview with their CEO, David Graham. And I'll excerpt that interview because I think it's really important that if we're not already behind it, we certainly are here, but all of you get behind it. World Sailing CEO David Graham reflects on the importance of parasailing to the Paralympic Games. World Sailing's ambition to be reinstated into the Paralympic Games started the moment it was removed. Well, at least the moment that David Graham got there and took over as CEO, because he's really been pushing this, unlike the previous crouton. Today, we have reached a pivotal point as we submit our bid to the IPC for inclusion in LA 2028. Over the last few years, we have focused on growing participation numbers, and I'm proud we can now say that we have parasailers active in the sport from 5 continents representing 41 countries. We are fully committed to securing the future of the sport, and we're excited to see it thrive over what has been a challenging few years for global sport in general.
True.
True indeed. And he went on to say our IPC application submission may be imminent, but our work will never stop. Our hashtag Back the Bid campaign has clearly shown how much the wider sailing community is behind this movement. Teams, events, Olympians, and sailing legends from all disciplines within the sport have got behind and actively supported the campaign. The motivation and support is huge from our passionate, active, global, and inclusive sailing community. There is a very tough decision ahead for the IPC, but whatever the outcome, World Sailing is committed to continue to grow parasailing at every level from grassroots to elite, supporting individuals and events around the world for a fairer and more inclusive society. Great sentiments. And there's, if you go to their website, the World Sailing website, there is a much longer statement by David, by the CEO, David Graham, and some other graphics, some other visuals, including this one, which is good. There's one part of it I'm not happy about, but we'll talk about that in a second. Otherwise, a great graphic. 41 nations there, 5 continents with parasailers competing internationally. I'm going to show you a video about kiteboarding, a pair of kiteboarders in a sec.
We haven't seen that.
Thanks to Andrew Pindar. I didn't like this stat. 631 parasailers active globally on the classification master list. Hey, excuse me, I don't care about World Sailing's classification master list. It's not out of the ballpark. It's not out of it's not fake news.
Yeah.
To say there are thousands of parasailers. Hell, there's thousands of parasailers in the U.S., let alone in the U.K. and Australia, New Zealand, and wherever else. So I wouldn't have used this classification number. That might be fine, but I would have augmented it, and I think we should augment it, if you're watching David Graham, with a much higher number, because we've got many hundreds, if not thousands of parasailers on the planet. 44 nations, as we said, the top sailors at World Championships. This is a nice shot of a Malaysian sailor. 5 World Championships in 2022 alone. Female participation is up. That's great. Increase of participation at 20% of total athletes. Great. Nice. Sign in. Give your own personal hashtag. And as you saw here on the show from Andrew Pindar, speaking of Andrew, he did a video for us and on his Facebook page that we ran on the show on Friday. I hope any of you that are so inclined will do it. Just a similar video, send it to us, push hashtag Back the Bid, hashtag Sail to LA. And apropos what John Emmett just said, Julia, there's every reason why this is a video world now. We keep saying that. I mean, here are 2 aging croutons, you and me, who sit here and do this show. It's not easy. I tell you, we took 5 years to learn how to do it, almost broadcast quality, and it's not easy. We have a staff of 20 there behind Julia, right?
In an envelope.
Right there, back behind Julia in that closet. There's 20 others in the control room. Not. It's just the 2 of us. But it can be done. But forget about all that. Forget about us. Forget about high production stuff for Sail GP and the America's Cup and some of the other events. Take your iPhone, put your iPhone up in front of you, turn it on, put it in a
horizontal.
Well, do it horizontal and not vertical, please. But whatever, even do it vertical. Hold it up. But get a little tripod for $12 on Facebook. You can get one of these holders, including a tripod. Sit it on your desk. Sit it on a pile of books. Put it in front of your face. Hit the button and talk. And if you want to do 2 takes, fine. Although my experience is the first take's almost always the best.
Yeah.
We do those Road to the Governor's Cup videos. One take Tom. We just do them.
Yeah.
But
and knowing that you're only going to have 1 take always makes it
that
better.
helps too. Hey, we're going to do this in 1 take, and if you flub up, just don't use the F-bomb, or hey, can we stop and go back? Just keep going. Oh, I meant to say.
Yeah.
And all of us should be doing, from our clubs, from our classes. I say this, I've said it in a while, but I thought John Emmett was very eloquent about that. And send us your videos about this or any other topic. We're happy to put them in the show. It is so odd, Gordon Smith says, to have a competent CEO. I wish more people would comment on the great job he is doing. I haven't met the gentleman, or I have, but I don't know him really. I hope David Graham is non-discriminatory, gender neutral. Stingray is saying. And yeah, I think they're making fun of me now. He's a non-Paralympian, but that he is a sailor. And the point is, he is not a non-sailing CEO. He's a sailing CEO. And you and I aren't Paralympians, but we have hugely supportive, and we have huge confidence and huge empathy and so on for all disciplines of our sport, not just parasailing.
Yes.
Great stuff. Back the bid. Hashtag back the bid. Hashtag sail to LA. And keep pushing this. Hopefully this application that's being submitted now goes through, and we'll be back in the Paralympics in 2028 in LA.
And I'm looking forward to the LA Olympics being one of the greatest for the last, 5 times around.
For sailing, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, one can only hope. One can only hope. Okay. Speaking of Andrew Pindar, he did his video for us on this topic on the show on Friday, and he sent this video from Foiling Week. And I don't know if he ever made it there. He's been in France, and he may have gotten down there for a couple, 3 days. But watch this video apropos Foiling Week and parasailing.
I've been looking forward for 3 years to the first moment when we have international riders coming together to compete, but also to share their knowledge and experience. When I'm out there on the water, I have like all my senses focused outwards, like where's the wind, where's the waves coming, where can I jump? I really forget about everything in life and just being in the moment with the nature, and I think there isn't a better feeling than just that freedom.
I'm very happy to World Sailing organize this clinic because it's super important to have move more impulsion for the world. And World Sailing have imagined this clinic, and now I think we have give some information to World Sailing, and World Sailing have give us a lot of information, and this exchange is for sure good for the future.
So for me, PDP has been a long dream that I had since I became an amputee. I never thought that it would come to an international event bringing people from all over the world to learn as a clinic and to develop the sport for people with disabilities. For any athlete, any para-athlete, coming to events like this and develop as racers, it's a game changer.
Kitesurf for me, it's really important because my handicap, my disability, make me a lot of hard work. It's not possible for running, but in kiting, I can do what I want. I'm not really adaptive people when I practice kitesurf, So for me, it's very good for my health. For my health, it's really good, and for my brain too.
It is.
Sailing's extremely accessible to many people. As we've seen here this week, we've got people sitting kiteboarding, people standing kiteboarding, and sailing is a wonderful sport for that. That's because the feedback that I'm getting often from parasailers is that they feel free, and our job is just to continue to make that accessibility as wide as possible.
Okay, bravo Zulu to everybody involved, right, Julia?
Yes, that's it.
From David Graham on down, all the sailors. I thought that was a wonderful video. Thank you, Andrew Pindar, for sending that. As Gordon Smith said, that's amazing. Come on, Stingray saying, we'd love to see Pindar take a wave like that one. But it's just an amazing part of our sport. I hope it's back in the Paralympics. And anything we can do, if any of you have any ideas, anything you can do to help push this along, you got to get to the head of the IPC, who last I knew was a Brazilian.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but somebody's got to get to the IPC head and put the big proverbial arm twist.
It's impossible to think of it not being a great addition.
Well, here's the problem. We're talking about a relatively few number of sailors according to World Sailing's. Where's that number again? It was 600 and something. And we've got to show, I'm sure, IPC that we've got thousands and thousands of disabled, handicapped, whatever the right word is, challenged sailors who are participating in our sport.
Right.
Because it is such an inclusive and cool sport, something anybody can do from 8 to 80, whether you've got one leg, no legs, yada, yada. Quadriplegics who can, run stuff, and we got very bright people in our sport who make these boats accessible for a whole range of people. It's fantastic stuff. Bravo Zulu, back the bid, sail to LA, keep pushing. We'll give them all the boost that we hope will take this this application across the finish line with the IPC. Okay, that brings us to today's featured segment. You see here on our cover slide, another one of these just cool, bright kids. Will Sargent from Australia. Andy and I interviewed him a couple days ago. We've got interviews with more tomorrow and Thursday. We'll run on Friday's show, at least one of them, if not two, and have a look at what is just, I'm sorry to repeat, but these kids are so amazing, bright, all over the world. And we have now done Jack Egan, Robbie King, Robbie McCutcheon, Jordan Stevenson, and Marius Vesselin. He's such a character. He's my favorite, from the U.S., Great Britain, New Zealand, and Sweden, respectively. Today is Will Sargent from Australia, this guy is, you talk about a renaissance, that's probably not the right word, but he is a multi-discipline sailor. He sails small boats, he sails foilers, he sails offshore boats, he sailed Sydney Hobart, and he does match racing, and he loves match racing. Have a look at this video. Andy and I did the interview with him from a day or so ago. Well, welcome to the 6th episode of the Road to the 2022 Governor's Cup, the prestigious International Youth Match Racing Championship hosted annually down in Newport Beach by the esteemed Balboa Yacht Club. As usual, with me here, actually down in Newport Beach, is Andy Rose, our GovCup guru, former winner of the Cup, and our skipper today, coming from Brisbane in Australia, Will Sargent. Andrew, over to you.
Well, thanks, Tom, and this is exciting. We have a newbie here. We have a first-time Governor's Cup skipper, Will Sargent, and welcome, Will.
Thank you very much, Andy. Pleasure to be here.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you in, I guess it's about 4 weeks now, eh?
Yeah, not long.
Yeah, well, let me start with just explaining to our audience that, we've had a lot of Australians and Kiwis and Brits in the Governor's Cup for now 30-some years, but I don't think we've ever had a Taswegian skipper.
Yeah, no, it might be the honour to have be the first one to do that. So it's a pretty cool thing.
Well, it's quite a feat too, because you're clearly one of the best, if not the best, youth match racer in Australia right now, under 23. But just for our audience, I would point out that Will is from Hobart, and the population of Greater Hobart is about 430,000 people. Most of the Australian competitors come from Sydney, where the Greater Sydney population is 5,361,000 people. So you must be good. And I understand you've been sailing out of the CYCA. And where are you now?
Yes, I'm currently in Brisbane at a men's laser camp for the national team. But I fly between Hobart, Sydney, and just about every other city in Australia just to train and sail as much as I can.
All right. Well, I imagine the airlines appreciate you very much.
Yeah, it might be cheaper to buy my own 737 soon, I think.
You'll probably get to that if you keep sailing at this level. Maybe not a 737, but at least a Lear or something. Let's go to the slides, Tom.
This first one is obviously maybe Australia's most famous sailor today, Tom Slingsby. Where was this, and how old are you, Will?
Yeah, so this photo was actually taken in Hobart. He was there for the Far 40 Nationals. I can't remember the year, but I was 12 years old, and that was when I first started sailing pretty much. I started sailing a couple of months before this shot was taken.
What's Mr. Slingsby up to now?
A fair bit of stuff, actually. Most people have hopefully heard of him before, but yeah, no. So even back then, it was just after he won his gold medal in London, and he was pretty well known. But I mean, now he's doing absolutely everything and winning whatever he wants.
What's he doing in the America's Cup?
Yeah, with American Magic, hey? The Australians are too poor to make their own team, so you guys keep poaching our best skippers.
Well, I can't stand people that sail for another country, except, of course, before your parents were born in 1977, I was tactician on Australia 1.
Ah, I see.
So there you go. I had to let speak properly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, there's not too many Americans coming to us these days, unfortunately, but a lot of us going to you guys.
Well, it's probably good for us. All right, Tom, what's the next slide?
Will?
Yeah, so this photo here was, I think I was 17, and we won the SB20 National Championship. So that was my first Nationals win, and it's the first time a team under the age of 21 has ever podiumed or ever won it. So it was pretty special for us to win that.
Why don't you describe the boat a little bit? I don't know if a lot of our international audience are familiar with them.
It's very similar to a J70 in a way, a little bit more sporty. Actually, kind of in between a Viper and a J70. But they're really big in Europe and also in Australia, but they haven't really ever taken off in America for whatever reason.
All right.
Pacific Games.
Yeah, so this photo was just pre-COVID in 2019. So I got selected to represent Australia in the laser at the Pacific Games in Samoa. So that was an interesting place to sail. It was really hot and humid. And I was lucky enough to get a bronze medal there. And that was kind of my first big result in the laser from that side of sailing.
That's great. So you've been sailing lasers a lot lately?
Yeah, I've kind of been balancing offshore match racing and laser sailing as best I can. Basically, all I've got time for is being on the water now. But yeah, I do a lot of everything, and I think it helps contribute to every part of my sailing, no matter which format I do.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Here's some match racing for the Vibe Hotels.
Yeah, finally got some match racing photos for you. So this one is the first major event I podiumed at in Australia. That was the first year of COVID, I think, 2020. And it was the only match racing event we had that year. And yeah, we got third. And the funny story from that one is Tom Slingsby actually entered the event and got a team together for it. And it was the first race of the event. I had to look at the draw, and we were drawn up against him, and I was like, oh, here we go. This is not going to be a good start. So I was just kind of, as we entered the start box, looking at him like, oh, this is pretty damn cool, isn't it? Going to get absolutely my ass handed by him, but it'd be a cool experience nonetheless. But we actually ended up beating him in the first race of the event, which is pretty cool. He ended up whitewashing everyone once he figured out how to match race again and won the event by miles. He beat Harry Price in the final, but it was pretty cool still to take a race win off him nonetheless.
That's great. Harry Price being, for our audience, a two-time Governor's Cup winner and a great guy. A terrible interview, but a great guy. I'm gonna like interviewing you a lot more. I am enjoying it a lot more.
Harry's come a long way, Andrew.
Harry has, but now he does it with me just to spite me. Because he's actually been quite good in other interviews we've seen at the Congressional Cup, etc. But he's never going to give me more than 4 words.
Okay, let's go. I got it.
In Australia too.
Go say again.
He's notorious for that in Australia too. Don't worry, it's not just you.
Well, we know his parents well, and his sister Olivia, and they're 4 of the coolest. They've been on the show any number of times as well. So I got ahead of myself a minute ago. How about this offshore shot in the TP52?
Yeah, so this was a shot taken in my first Sydney to Hobart on TP52 that I'm lucky enough to be tactician for. And yeah, it was a really cool event. It was actually one of the tougher Hobarts. Had a really bad first night that saw half the fleet retire. I think there was 90 something boats entered and 40 something finished. So it was a pretty tough race, but a cool introduction to that side of racing for me.
Well, you are pretty versatile because, as you said, you've been sailing the laser a lot and at a high level.
Yeah. So this shot was taken reasonably recently at Sail Melbourne, one of our international events. And so yeah, been working pretty hard to crack that. Australia is probably one of the toughest countries to do any good because we've got so many damn good sailors in the class. But yeah, it's a great experience and it helps my other sailing out immensely.
Right.
And then this final slide.
Yeah, so this final one was taken a couple of months ago. We had a tour of New Zealand where first we did the Hark International with our Worlds team where I'm main and downwind trim for Finn Tapper, and we won that event. And then I hopped on the stick for the Centreport International in Wellington, and we managed to win that event there with my two guys, Eddie and Nathan.
Either of them coming with you to GovCup?
Yeah, so the one on the far right is the one in the middle's still in school, and so he wasn't allowed to come. But we've got someone else coming, Jack Littlechild, in the middle for me.
I might point out that you beat, I believe you, Robbie McCutcheon got second in the Centerport. Is that not correct?
Yeah. Robbie got second and Cole got third.
Yeah, Robbie is one of the top new young Kiwi sailors. So that was sort of a preview of some of the Governor's Cup action here. So that's great.
Yeah.
I had to mention your TP52 experience. I have a 50-foot version. The only reason it's a 50-foot version of a TP52 is that we have this race in the bay on Thursday nights here, and that you can't be over 50 feet. So rather than buying a used TP52, which would have cost us a quarter of the amount we spent on building a new boat, we have the only boat ever built to the Newport Beach beer can rule. And I say that because if you guys aren't tired enough by the end of Thursday racing, you're welcome to come out with us. You'll find it very similar. My only worry is that you're tactician on that boat. Well, I'm tactician on my boat, so I don't want you after my job.
It's all right. I'm happy being on the runners or something at the back and just having a
No
good time.
runners. We don't have flat top mains. It's an older version TP52.
Okay.
So I wish we did, but we don't. Our last boat had runners, and I miss them, frankly. But anyway, so the Governor's Cup. You will find the competition interesting this year, as I think we all will. As you know, you guys, I think you mentioned that in 2020, you only did one match race in Australia. And of course, for 2 years, neither the Australians nor the New Zealanders could travel to the other country. So everybody's a little, we haven't really figured out how everybody's going to do internationally. And this will be the first Governor's Cup in 3 years where we have full complement of the normal countries that sail, the UK, Australia, New Zealand. We have 3 or 4 Australian teams, actually. So it's going to be kind of neat. Last year's winner, Jeffrey Peterson, was here from Belleville Yacht Club and beat a very tough Emil Kjær from Denmark, who has gone on to do well in the Congressional Cup, et cetera. Clearly world class. But there were no Kiwis and Aussies. So I'm really looking forward to this. The other interesting thing is you guys are all sort of the new regime here, if you will. One of the sort of transition people between the Nick EJs and the Harry Prices is Jordan Stevenson, who will be in his last year. He would have easily been invited the last 2 years, but from New Zealand. So we're really looking forward to seeing how the old man like that sails against all you younger guys. So this should be fascinating.
Yeah, I'm actually one of my housemates is one of Geordie's old crew, and he's told me to watch out for him. So I think he might be going in as one of the sneaky underdog favourites in my book.
Absolutely, I think clearly in the last 2 years he probably would have been the favourite. He's just taken some time off, and also now that he's way old, he actually has a real job and all that stuff, which really gets in the way of your sailing. But anyway, we're excited to have him back, and I think that's going to be one of the more fascinating matches, the old age and treachery versus youth and enthusiasm.
Yeah, for sure. No, it should be good, should be exciting. I mean, not knowing too many guys, never racing any of them, it'll be a new experience and have no idea what to expect race to race.
Well, as we said before, our format, which I really like, we've had various formats in the past, but we have a double round robin, so you'll get to sail 22 times before the semifinals. And I think that'll really help those of you that are new in the boats and stuff. You can lose 3 or 4 races. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can lose 3 or 4 races in the first round robin, and get in. We had one last year who lost his first, I think, 6 races or something in the quarterfinals and still got in. So anyway, it should be fascinating, and I think you'll like the boats. They're behind me in the picture there, but they're pretty light and pretty exciting, and a lot of sail area on the flat top main, no runners. And anyway, I think you'll enjoy sailing them. So are you going to sail? You're sailing with 3 up and right at the weight limit or close to it?
So we're sailing 3 up. We're actually a fair way under. It's because I'm so heavy, I struggle to find people to sail 4 up with. But then also in our squad at the moment at the CYC, we don't have too many big people. So we've got myself and Nathan, who you saw in the photo before, and Jack, who's about the same weight as Eddie. At the Centerport, we're actually the lightest team by 35 kilos, which was pretty brutal in those boats. But we just adjust how we sail and use downwind as one of our big strengths, and it still seems to pay off. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you'll find, I think the boats, there's a lot of it. It's a flat top main, but without runners. And, the mast was designed so that it'll twist off pretty well. So, you've got to really focus on main and jib trim. But that helps. And also, last year you'll see pictures. We only use the pictures when it's blowing 18 knots in the programs and brochures and stuff. But it blew, and it was unusual for that long. Sometimes you'll have a day of 16, 17, but, there'll be most days of, 7 or 8 knots. So, you should be fine, but just hang on. Now, on the other hand, now that I've said that, it'll probably again blow 18 every day. But
I was going to say, last week I was in Long Beach and it was blowing 18 to 20 for the entire race week. So I was like, I thought it was going to be 10 to 15 every day.
What were you sailing on there?
I went with an Australian J70 crew over.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, you'll find one interesting thing about Southern California is Long Beach is all of 16 miles from jetty to jetty away from us. And the wind speed on most summer days in the afternoon will be at least 5 knots more in Long Beach than in Newport Beach.
Yeah, right.
So it's sort of an interesting thing. But when it really blows, when it blows 20 or so up there, then we'll get the 17 or 18 down here.
Yeah.
Hey, Will, final question, and then we can wrap this up. But did I read that you're going to the Youth Match Racing Worlds as well?
Yeah. So the whole last 12 months has actually been the focus is the Worlds, and I'm doing main and kite trim for Finn Tapper in that event. And so the one event I've had steering in the last eight months was that Wellington event, and then GovCup. So that was kind of the deal, was I'd hop on with Finn and have a good time and try and win the Worlds with him, and then GovCup onwards is my turn to try and have a crack and win the Worlds and win a GovCup.
You'll find the GovCup overall is more important than the Worlds, believe it or not. Certainly the competition's better because of the one per country rule in the Worlds.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. Anything else, Andrew?
No, I think the flight you guys are going to have on the 24th to get here from the Worlds with all of you on it, or something close to it, should be fascinating.
It'll be entertaining for sure.
Yeah.
Safe travels, and we'll see you in about 3 weeks.
Sweet as. Thank you very much for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Ciao.
All right.
Sweet as. A nice Antipodean expression. I agree with Stingray, Julia. You were saying when you saw Stingray's comment, Will is my favorite interview in this series so far. Very cool. Jonathan Frank volunteered to fly his 737 around for him.
Yeah, what a good idea.
He's still type approved on that. He flies big planes. Also a cool comment from Peter Taylor. I hope Andy's watching. How much starch does Andy use in his shirts?
I know.
I haven't seen a shirt that crisp in decades. And as you know, Julia, Andy is anything but stiff. He's a really relaxed,
but his shirts
cool guy.
are starched.
But his shirts are. Well, we all of us of a certain age, we put a little starch in our shirts, light starch.
Yeah, cover up the neck.
Well, exactly. And I should probably move. It's really bad. Okay, these cool. You know what's great, Julia, is that someday, when we're long gone, these interviews, these kids are all going to be famously good. Most of them will be famously good sailors. They already are. And somebody's going to dig these interviews up, which is why we like to do them, why we like to, let them run a little long. That was 14 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
And I could have cut it off earlier, but, you never know what they're going to say. And they're so smart and they're so worldly and they're so interesting. Mm-hmm. And I would have loved to have had the experience that they're having through match racing, which is why we keep saying how great this match racing sport is, especially for kids. And if you're not doing it at your clubs, I encourage you to do it. If you've got good sailors, get them to your regional and national match racing championships, youth match racing championships, or otherwise, right?
They all the sailors say, they learn so much by doing that, both on the boat and off, and it is a great experience.
Indeed. Okay, so we've got this match racing event, the Governor's Cup, the 55th edition of the oldest and most prestigious youth match racing championship, coming up in 3 weeks' time down in Newport Beach. You see there at the bottom of that, it says Rose Cup winner on the right. Well, we've said before, the Rose Cup winner was Team Pinckney, was Morgan Pinckney from Newport Harbor Yacht Club. And because they won the Rose Cup, but they'd already been invited on the strength of their match racing performance last year. They were, I think, third in the Governor's Cup last year. So filling in was the first alternate, which is Ansgar, they pronounce it, Jordan, from Coronado Yacht Club down in San Diego. And that's where we will be in 3 weeks' time, 25th through the 30th of July. We have 10 shows, live shows that week for the 55th Governor's Cup at Balboa Yacht Club, including my Tuesday show. I won't do a Friday show that week because we'll be out on the water covering the racing live. Friday and Saturday is the live coverage, but we're doing morning shows through the week and so on and so forth. Okay, this day in history, it's a bit of an interesting day. We have two stories for you today on the 5th of July. One from 335 years ago, 1687. Here is your first clue, 1687. Sort of an auspicious day in scientific history. You know who that is?
No.
Do you know who it is now?
Oh. Newton.
Exactly. 335 years ago, Newton's Principia was published. And, you know, he wrote it in his own hand. He didn't have typewriters and computers, obviously.
Yeah.
He wrote it longhand, at least the first edition. He did 2 more editions where he fixed it after that. And you can say that in Latin, I can't. But it was just shortened to in English, the Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy by Isaac Newton, often referred to simply as Principia, is a work expounding Newton's laws of motion and his law of universal gravitation in 3 books written in Latin, first published on this day in 1687. Now, how does that relate to sailing? Well, of course, all of it relates to sailing, including and especially, we can read through those, but I'll just skip right to the bottom line. His theory also accounts approximately for marine tides, including the phenomena of spring and neap tides, by the perturbing and varying gravitational attractions of the sun and moon on the Earth's waters. 335 years ago.
Amazing.
Scientific method. This guy obviously was some bright. He's been proven wrong in some aspects of that in modern physics.
But not basically.
Not basically. I mean, not at the scale, at the planet scale, but quantum mechanics and so on, he's a little different than what he was talking about. But as David James, one might say that was the beginning of the Enlightenment. Looks like an early version of Will Sargent. Nice mullet. Jody must know Will Sargent. Now, I'm not going to cover the FAR X2 tragedy this weekend. I'm going to talk to Britt Ward and the gang at FAR, and we'll see about that. And we'll carry on. But I just thought this day in history, it would be fun to go back and skim through that in some English version of probably his first, if not the third edition. But look at all the things that he showed, that he predicted, that he defined. The oblateness of the shape of the Earth. I mean, he was very cool. Okay, what happened on this day, coming to modern history, in 2001 is wrong. That's a typo by Julia. Knock on the control room door there next to you.
Hey guys.
In the control room. The graphics department messed that up. That's me. That should be 2021. What happened a year ago on this day, apropos COVID?
Closed down.
No, quite the opposite. In the UK, Bojo announced the scrapping of all restrictions in England from the 19th of July, 2 weeks from today, to become the most unrestrictive country in Europe, and even less restrictive than we were here in the U.S. Put a lot of pressure here on the U.S. to wrap things up, or at least wind things down.
I'm glad.
Yeah. A year ago today. It's hard to believe. Hard to believe. Road to the 2022 Governor's Cup. Will Sargent, thank you for that interview. Massive resignations across the UK government. Is that true, John? Is that today? Is that due to Bojo's parties in the garden there at number 10 Downing? Okay, some cool things that have happened in the sports since our last show Friday. Let's have a quick look. Bravo Zulu to any number of classes and clubs and so on. The ORC, the Offshore Racing Council World Championship, wrapped up successfully in Porto Cervo at Yacht Club Costa Smeralda. Bravo Zulu to the 3 new ORC World Champions, Beau Jest. And that was Ken Reed, I think, driving that. Essentia 44 and Sugar 3, the ORC Offshore Sailing World Championship, organized by the YCCS in collaboration with the Offshore Racing Congress. That's what it is, Offshore Racing Congress. Drew to a close Friday with a further 2 windward lure competitions, bringing the total number of races held to 7. You can see on their website what happened. Also, the Super Yacht Cup in Palma. You know whose boat that is, Julia? Sevilla.
Oh, yeah.
The J boat. Tom Siebel's boat. He's, of course, here a member of St. Francis and New York. And Svea and Ganesha tied for the overall trophy at the Super Yacht Cup Palma. In a testing final day amid challenging conditions, the ultimate outcome of the Super Yacht Cup could not possibly have been closer once all results were in. The awe-inspiring J-Class contender Svea and the elegant 46-meter Class B sloop Ganesha, I think that's how they pronounce it, finished level on points with identical score lines. Ganesha got the tie break, emerged on the overall victor thanks to her last race win on countback, Svea taking second in hers. So Bravo Zulu to them. Bojo in deep trouble, about time too, Gordon Smith to say he's never been a big fan of Bojo.
Mm.
David James pointing out that in 1946 on this day, 46 was the debut of the bikini.
Aha.
I didn't see that anywhere. We might have run that, Julia, and you
missed it.
I do have a bikini photo here in the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot at the end, though.
Oh,
that
good.
you sent.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. You sure you want to run that?
Yeah, I'm running it. This is from the Royal Danish Yacht Club. What a fantastic yacht club it is. They were hosting in grand style at the KDY, as you'd say in Danish, the 330 sailors from 26 nations, and that championship was the 29er Europeans, the Volvo 29er Europeans. It wrapped today. In fact, we'll have the results in a sec. But it's really cool. They got a bunch of kids sailing in this, and a lot of them are siblings, as it turns out. Just one note, the great PR. They did a video almost every day, maybe every day. The great stories, great video, great pictures, and so on. But again, they didn't put the names of the kids under the photos. I'd like to tell you who these kids are, but I can't. I'd like to tell you who these kids are.
Oh, that's
these two gals. What a fabulous picture.
It is.
But excuse me. Come on, guys and gals. But the theme here I liked a lot. 17 sibling teams in the fleet. At this year's European Championships, there were 17 teams with siblings sailing together, an interesting dynamic that for sure gives advantages, but also sometimes a discussion around the dinner table at home. And rather than read the rest of that, I actually have a video that they posted, which is also really cool.
I think it's good. I think you can be more direct when it's a sibling. And so you can just share a lot more information and you don't have to be afraid of being wrong. So that's a big part of it.
It's much better than I thought it would be, to be honest. Like, if you had told me a few years ago I'd just said with Nathan, I would have said no way. Because we tend to bicker a bit on land, but when we're on the water, we work really well together. And it's actually quite nice to be siblings. It's easier to organize. It's also brought us closer, I think, so that's nice.
It's easier to communicate because you know each other so good, but at times it can also be a problem because you know each other too well. So maybe you don't have the filter you always have with other people. But I think siblings working together always improve faster than maybe other people.
Interesting thought that siblings working together improve faster than non. I'm not sure 100% that that's true, but it's an interesting thought, one that we should explore with some of our other sibling. We've got a couple of majorly good young sibling teams here in the U.S., more than a couple, in fact. I'll talk to several and see what your thoughts are. Matthias Collins saying the media working behind have no clue. You need the class secretary pre-checking the picks, and maybe he or she will be able to name all. Yes, true. Fritz Mueller, yeah, we're watching the Robert Deves photos at the 5.5 Worlds in Hanko. It's not in Finland, right? Hanko is in Norway, right? But fantastic photos from Robert Deves, who also does the PR for the OK Dinghy class and the Finn class. And yeah, terrific stuff. We're also remember the Finn Masters are going on they're in Finland. The Finn Masters are going on in Finland, and that's still continuing this week, and we will wrap that on Friday's show. We'll have some coverage of both of those. In the meantime, just to finish up that 29er Europeans, the final day was today in Rungstedt, and the overall European champions, Tom Goran and Mael, is that how you say it? Clochard from France? How do you say Mael, Julia, in French?
I don't really know.
Women's European champions, Sarah Momplet and Isabel Momplet from España. And the overall, get this, the overall Open European champions, George Lee Rush and Seb Menzies from New Zealand.
Oh, look at that.
So that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Emmett's saying that PJ he is dominating the Finn Masters, no surprise. There was another comment, John Emmett, I thought he had a pithy comment above that I wanted to refer to, but maybe I'm missing it. Okay, I don't remember what it was. It was apropos something that was going on in one of these events. Cool stuff, though. Bravo Zulu to them all. Finally, Bravo Zulu to Foiling Week, which is wrapped up. That was this past week. The new Foiling Youth World Series was announced. We told you about that on Friday's show, a new event created by Foiling Week, dedicated to young, talented sailors, providing the foiling pathway to become professionals and access elite sailing in collaboration with the best teams and yacht clubs. I know it was the comment I was just thinking about from John Emmett who was it? Dylan Fletcher, I think he said. John Emmett said, one Foiling Week. Now, Dylan Fletcher is just recently retired in the last few days, announced his retirement from Olympic sailing for Great Britain, and he was their 49er gold medalist. Is that right, John? Did I get that right? And he's now won Foiling Week at Lake Garda.
Yeah.
Dylan Fletcher.
Good for him.
Good for him and a great sailor. Now, here's one other photo from Foiling Week. I couldn't resist. From a friend, sent that photo. You know who that is on the left, our Fozy, Luca Rosati.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Luca Rosati, who is the founder and president of Foiling Week. There's Russell Coots in the middle. He was there coaching his son, and who I think finished third in the Moth, not even in the Wasp, one or the other. And of course, Luca Devoti, who is a Foz, he's been on the show, promises to come back on and talk to us in due course about his new boat that he's designed. And he was there as well. So there's some famous.
What a group. That's a great group.
What a group, eh?
Mm.
So, yeah, let's see the confirmation here from, where was it? I thought Emmett said, Olympic gold medalist, 49er, 22, Dylan Fletcher, 29 or 2021. So at the Olympics in Tokyo. Replying to David James, the first bikini designed by French engineer Louis Réard made its debut in Paris. The swimsuit was named for the Bikini Atoll, which just days earlier had been the site of the world's first. Is that true?
Yes.
First peacetime atomic weapons. Yeah. Is that true?
Yes.
You would know that.
Yes.
Were you wearing bikinis in those days?
No. I've never worn a bikini.
Well, we wore Speedos under our sailing clothes,
Yeah.
but we really didn't, prance around in them so much because we were so modest. You believe that?
No.
Okay, let's get to the American Cup boat race, Julia's favorite expression about the America's Cup and the $20 million man and his announcement. By the way, he is the CEO of ACE, America's Cup Events, again, as well as the team.
No kidding.
Yeah, no kidding. This is what the announcement said.
I didn't see that.
You know what that picture is from, where that is? That is the Red Bull Youth America's Cup San Francisco 2013, I'm pretty sure. Doesn't that look like Angel Island in the background?
Yeah.
Which was the first Youth America's Cup. Well done here by Russell and Co. Women's and Youth America's Cup events, as you know, have been previously announced. Well, the details were announced today by Grant Dalton. The pathway to the very pinnacle of sailing and yachting's greatest prize is no easy feat. For well over a century, it has been about extraordinary achievement being rewarded with a shot at glory, be that through Olympic classes, offshore sailing, multi-hull, match racing, or one design racing disciplines. The very best, however, somehow find their way to the America's Cup, an event simply like no other. That's true. So what did they announce today? Well, first of all, the AC-40s. It's quite a change from what they originally announced. Racing will be in a fleet of 6 one-design AC-40s supplied by the America's Cup teams. Off the water, a shared shore and technical support team will be provided by the organizers to facilitate cost savings and to ensure consistency across the fleet. I don't think that's new. I think that's been the intentional all along. For the Youth America's Cup, the crews can be made up of male, female, or mixed crews, all of whom are required to be aged 25 and under on the first race of the match. There shall be no age restriction for the Women's America's Cup Regatta. The crew nationality requirements of the 37th America's Cup protocol shall apply for both regattas. That is, 100% of the crew sailing each yacht in each race shall be nationals of the country of the yacht club that the team represents. So bravo Zulu for that. We like that. Here is the setup. You can see a Pool A, which is the America's Cup teams, and then Pool B, which is 5 other teams from representative yacht clubs, and they will race off in fleet racing. Then the top 2 from each of those pools will go, top 3, I guess, from each of those pools will go into yet another series of fleet racing. And then the top 2 teams will go into a single match race. Now, whereas this was going to happen well in advance of the America's Cup, and there have been, one hears a fair bit of angst among the challengers behind the scenes, saying this is really expensive, this is taking a lot of time, it's going to take away from our testing and so on. So this has been moved to Barcelona during the Challenger Series itself. That's the new news here. More details of the format are now available with both women's and youth AC regattas being contested between 12 teams split into 2 pools of 6 for an initial fleet race series, just as I described. The first pool will be comprised of the teams entered and competing in the AC. The second pool then be formed by the independent yacht club entries that qualify to enter under the nationality clause. And I guess they have to apply for that. So they don't have to be connected with existing America's Cup teams. That's that second pool, as I described it. Was there more on that? There may have been more on that. I guess not. So that's that. Then here's the other piece of news. That is obviously, obviously, those of you who know it, that's Barcelona. And you see that building right here? I think that's called the World Trade Center. Stingray would know. And that's now going to be the headquarters for the America's Cup. And the teams are spread around here in various places, or so one hears. Although how that's taking shape remains to be seen. In what is expected to be one of the highlights of the 37th America's Cup, both the women's and youth cups will now be sailed on the America's Cup race. Well, it was always going to be sailed off the Barcelona waterfront during the final stages of the Challengers Selection Series and the opening of the America's Cup itself. Match.
Good.
Coming into the fold will be the very best female and youth athletes from around the world, thrust into prime exposure at the venue and aired to a global broadcast across multiple platforms. The chance to shine, to create a buzz, and light the pathway. They needed an Oxford comma in there, I think, after buzz. And light the pathway to the future of the America's Cup itself has simply never been brighter. So it
sounds good.
It sounds good. It's an ambitious undertaking. The teams have huge expenses and trying to raise money, and they're trying to use those AC-40s that were for training. And now this is really quite a change. My question to all of you, is it correct or Crutonic? Remember the first, and even in Bermuda, the so-called Youth America's Cup was held in some other boats, and not well in advance, but in advance of the final series, without really any connection to the team. So it's a bit of a distraction. and a bit of an expense to the team. So I ask you, is it correct or croutonic, or is this whole thing turning into a boondoggle? Is it turning into an expensive madness, especially for the teams? What do you think? Good, bad, or ugly? Let's see what people say. Ed Worley, yada, yada, yada. Will the teams be required to transport crew members in wind-powered vehicles? Jonathan Frank asking. Monica Diaz, belated happy birthday. Yes, indeed. I am very 50-50 on this project, Gordon Smith is saying. Ed Worley thinks it's croutonic. What do the rest of you say? What saith the rest of you? Julia, what's your, while they're getting their comments up, what do you think?
I don't know if they have time to get it together.
Yeah, I mean, this thing's 2 years' time.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be in September, October of 2024, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Still rumblings down under, by the way, but that's another issue. Any other comments? Come on, somebody tell me this is correct. It's going to be great. It'll be good all around. Stingray says, I like the Women's America's Cup and the WAC events. Peter Burling proved his talent at the line. Yeah, that was the Youth America's Cup. Pete Burling won. Sorry, Tom, I went to sleep. Pedro Foiling Sailor, I hope you're better. I hope you're getting better with your COVID. Likewise, anyone else. Jonathan Frank, sounds like you're better. Alan Long, I agree with Julia. What'd you say, Julia? Just a minute ago.
Probably they don't have time to make it.
Yeah, I think Alan Long is agreeing with you. Okay, no other comments. I hope this works. I hope it works well. I hope it's not croutonic. I really want to see if this thing does happen in Barcelona, and I agree with John Emmett, this war is a real worry, big picture, long term.
Mm-hmm.
But Ryman thinks it's correct. Ted is saying, similar to F1, having the lesser formula races during a Grand Prix, good idea. Yep. We'll see. It's a massive undertaking and expensive, but at least the television assets are there, and you'll have a crowd of people watching. Plus, it'll bring a crowd, some parents and siblings and spouses and so on who are going to watch their friends and family sailing in this thing. Will stay maybe for the whole America's Cup, so hopefully that's a better focus as well.
Be good.
Jody, we need some new music. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
All righty. I don't know if it's correct or croutonic myself. I hope it turns out well, because the ones here in 13 and 17, and I don't remember what they do in 2024. Was there a Youth America's Cup in Auckland?
Yeah, I think so.
In what? I don't remember.
I don't know in what.
I mean, I don't think there was because of COVID.
24?
In 2021.
Oh, 21. Oh, probably not.
I think there was not. If you're just joining us for an hour and 28 minutes into our show number 534, thank you for joining us. Go back and, if you've just joined, go back and look and replay, scrabble back this interview with Will Sargent, our sixth such interview. I mean, these kids are great.
Yes,
they're terrific. And Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, our D block here at the end of the show. And one of you asked not to say who said this, but apropos the 4th of July celebrations, he who drinks a fifth on the 4th, I thought this was musical, and then I read the next clause, may not be able to go forth on the 5th. Those of you musicians, Jonathan Frank will appreciate that, the 5th on the 4th. The next one, speaking of drinking, this is the drinking show of the Sailing Habit. Buy any 2 drinks and pay for both. I guess that's apropos inflation, Julie. I don't know what that's all about. The navigation says that we're wasting our time and should never have left home. That may have come from Peter Taylor. I didn't remember who sent it.
I think anybody on the road last weekend would have said that.
Or anyone who was flying. I mean, my God, the flights today, the cancel. I'm really sorry. My mom is watching. I'm really glad we didn't fly back to Michigan, because Delta especially was having problems with their pilots semi-striking.
There were 200,000 flights canceled.
Yeah, exactly. And delays, notwithstanding delays and all the other stuff that was going on. That was over the last week, the 200,000.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of flights. Yeah, and if you were on the road, the price of gasoline and so on. But, well, we hunkered down here, didn't we, Julie?
We chickened out.
We had a nice barbecue last night. We didn't go up to your place. You didn't go up to your place, but we relaxed. This is for the musicians. Again, one of you sent this. Doc, I'm being followed by a moon shadow. And the doc says, moon shadow? And Cat Stevens says, yeah, moon shadow. You know that song?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I couldn't resist. Stupid but cool. Now, Julia sent this next one. Julia, you want to introduce this?
No.
Apropos bikinis and Speedos. When you can read the caption.
Yeah. When your summer body isn't ready, but you go on holiday anyway.
That could be a caption contest.
I mean, I saw one of those first maybe 5 years ago or something.
Oh, it was maybe 10 years. Who was the comedian from the what's the guy's name? Somebody will remind us. And they did some movies. And what's his name?
I can't remember.
Serbian or Croatian or
yeah, it was
funny guy.
Appalling at the time.
John Emmett is saying my poor eyes. Yeah, your poor eyes indeed. But Borat, thank you, Baton Rouge. I can't unsee that. I can't either. But if we did a caption contest, first of all, I got to thank Julia for sending. You did send that.
Well, somebody sent it to me.
And as somebody said, if you put that on, it doesn't look like a big problem. Pedro Foiling Sailor, yeah, Barat. It doesn't look like a big problem. We could have done a caption contest. Okay, enough of all that. We gets us. Gosh, I sound like I'm from the hood. Peanut smuggler, Fritz Miller saying. That gets us to the finish line, Julia, and I'm pleased to say that on Friday we will have another of Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdotes. He's done a video. He's really happy with it. It's about the Ronstand Band.
Oh.
So I hear. So, Julia, you're witness.
Don't miss this great opportunity to like, follow, and share. And especially now, just share. Just go to the bottom of your screen and push share.
Indeed. Comments welcome too, even in replay. If you're watching this in replay, as thousands of you do, support us if you would, please, on Patreon. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. And, it's a few $100 for us. We get $5, $10 from any number of you per month, and I appreciate it because it helps keep the light on and the internet paid for and new equipment bought now that we're 1080p. And a lot of credit to all the people who let us use their video and some who don't, like that Formula One video I'd love to run, but I'll put it up on my Facebook page. Julia, I have one last thought.
Yes.
Do you have any last thoughts?
No, you can have a last thought.
No, you can have a last thought. I'll go to this photo that was sent just before we went to air by somebody. I've forgotten. I think Ted Ryman sent this. This is #BackTheBid. As we said in that segment, more and more famous sailors are getting behind this. And you know who that is?
Oh, you told me, but
the German sailor.
I know, but I don't remember.
He sails the German boat. He's Brit. Most famous IMOCA sailor, I think. Ted Ryman, you want to tell us? And the name of his boat? The German company? Hugo Boss.
Oh, Boss, yeah.
Hugo Boss. Yes, John Emmett's got the name right. Come on. Alex Thompson, going once. Go. Yeah, Ted Ryman's got it up there. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. And we hope to see you on Friday. We'll have Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote, his latest one. We hope you have a great rest of your week. And in the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.